Yeah, nice. Change exercises every workout to confuse the muscles. Check. Wow. Get sore as hell. Check.
Despite what a lot of the bodybuilding mags or websites say, the primary driver of muscle growth isn't muscle confusion, soreness, metabolic conditioning, or time under tension, etc. No, the main driver of muscle growth is progressive tension overload. You can have the most optimal training program in the world. The program can be set up with optimal volume, optimal intensity, optimal frequency, and so on. In other words, the program could fit you like a glove. But if you overlook the component of progressive overload, your workout program, no matter how good it is, will quickly turn into a useless waste of time and will literally break your success just like that. So let's take a look at this very important component called progressive overload, starting with answering what is progressive overload. Okay, so question time. What do you think is the number one most important thing that your body is prioritizing the most? Well, to keep you alive and to function as efficiently as possible. Truthfully, your body doesn't care about your looks. It doesn't care about your numbers in the gym and whether your goal is muscle growth or fat loss. No, its only real goal is survival. And for your body to meet this goal, it will do whatever is needed of it in order to adapt to its environment. So the only way for you to change your body the way you want it to is to create an environment that forces it to adapt to something that will lead to that outcome. In other words, no matter how perfect your training program is, you won't build muscle or improve your performance unless you send your body signals that it absolutely needs to adapt in order to survive. And this is in exercise science known as the principle of progressive overload. This principle is as follows. To get stronger and more muscular, we must disrupt our physiological homeostasis with methods specific to that goal. Our physiological homeostasis is simply the place of balance where our bodies want to be in order to function appropriately. What this means is that we must disrupt our homeostasis by placing a greater stress on the body than what it's used to, in order to continue to build muscle and strength. The principle of progressive overload is actually pretty simple. It's about doing enough training to overload your body and make sure to progress this over time as you adapt and get stronger. A great and well-used analogy of this is explained perfectly in the Milo of Croton story. One day a little calf was born near Milo's home. Milo decided to lift the small animal up and carry it on his shoulder. Milo continued this strategy for the next 4 years, lifting the calf onto his shoulders each day as it grew, until he was no longer lifting a calf but a 4-year-old bull. Fascinating story, right? And the core principle of progressive overload are encapsulated in this legendary tale of Milo and the bull. Our bodily homeostasis works like a thermostat, always striving to achieve balance. When we impose an overload, like lifting up and carrying a growing bull on our back daily for a few years, we constantly set our thermostat off course by breaking down our musculature. This starts off a bunch of recovery processes in the body with the goal to get it back into homeostasis. Throughout this recovery period, the body also, during the right circumstances, adapts to further handle this overload better in the future, leading to more strength and muscle mass. This graph shows just how easy a beginner would be able to make progressive overload when training, i.e. from workout to workout. So the take-home message of progressive overload is that you should do your best to improve your performance in the gym over time if you want more muscle and strength. Okay, so how do you actually make progressive overload? Beginners, novices, intermediates, and advanced trainees can make progress on different timescales. This is just the nature of physiological adaptations. When we are younger at any endeavor, we have the chance of growing more quickly. And as we proceed, we start seeing diminishing returns and progress slows down as we get more advanced. So here's a list of the approximate time of progression over a training career. A true beginner between 0 to 6 months of training can make significant increases every workout session, like 2 to 3 times per week. A novice beginner, like 6 months up to even 2 years of training, might be able to make significant increases every other session to every week. An intermediate trainee, 2 to 5 years of training, can probably make significant increases on a session every week to every month. And finally, an advanced trainee with 5+ years of training could make small increases on a session perhaps every month, while significant increases would take place perhaps every 2 to 6 months, or even longer if they are very old in the game. These rates that we just looked at are only averages. Things such as genetics, lifestyle, recovery, and other factors will skew these numbers up or down. Okay, great, but how do you start making progress according to these rates then? Well, let's look at that now. When it comes to weightlifting, there's a bunch of ways in which we can progressively overload our training. And some of these ways are more ideal for certain goals and training experience levels than others. So, here's a list of the most common methods that I use to induce progressive overload. Number 1 is increase the weight being lifted. For example, if you are currently comfortable lifting 75 pounds on a given exercise, you can lift 80 pounds the next time you perform the exercise while trying to keep the reps the same. Number 2 would be to increase the number of reps you do with a given weight. For example, if you are currently comfortable lifting 75 pounds for 3 sets of 10 reps, you could do 3 sets of 11 reps with the same weight the next time you perform the exercise. Number 3, increase the number of sets you do with a given weight and reps. For example, if you're currently comfortable lifting 75 pounds for 3 sets of 10 reps, you could do 4 sets of 10 reps with the same weight the next time you perform the exercise. Number 4 would be to increase the amount of work you do within a given time period. For example, if you are currently using 3 minutes between your sets, you could try lifting the same weight for the same amount of sets and reps, but with 2.5 minutes of rest between your sets instead. And number 5, increase the difficulty of the exercise you are doing. For example, if you're currently doing normal reps on an exercise with a given weight, you can try to pause each rep for 1 to 2 seconds using the same weight instead. Again, depending on your goal and training experience level, some of these methods mentioned will be better suited for you than others. But in general, for an individual looking to gain muscle and strength, the easiest, quickest, and most commonly used methods to progressive overload with are number 1, increase in load, or number 2, increase in reps. So what follows now are a few of my and many others' absolute favorite progression models that works exceptionally well for muscle growth. The first one is single progression of load, which is a beginner level progression model. This way of progressing is very effective and fast, because weight gets increased from session to session. If you're a beginner, take advantage of this progression model for as long as you can. It's hands down the fastest way to make progress. So here's how to implement single progression of load. Number 1, pick a weight that you can comfortably hit your prescribed set and rep goals with. It's better to start lighter rather than heavier. Number 2, on your next workout, increase the weight you lift by the smallest increment and hit your prescribed set and rep goal again. Then number 3, repeat this process until you no longer can increase weight from session to session without losing reps anymore. This typically happens within a few months. Now, obviously, you won't be able to make progress like this forever. How awesome wouldn't that be, right? No, once you reach a plateau using this progression model, you have progressed past your current ability to recover and adapt at such a quick rate. Time has come to advance to another progression model, which is the double progression of first reps before load, which works well for novice to intermediate, even advanced level lifters. By using this progression model, your goal is to increase reps within a certain range before you increase load. The difference between double progression and single progression of load is that double progression allows you to make tiny improvements in reps before you increase the weight, which is a lot easier to do. And this slows down the progression a bit and will be required once you can't make progress with single progression of load anymore. Okay, so here's how to implement double progression with reps before load. Number 1, instead of having a fixed repetition that you should hit each workout of say 5 reps, you instead have a target rep range, let's say between 4 to 6 repetitions. Then number 2, use the same weight on the bar every session until you reach the high end of the rep range on all your sets, which would be 6 reps in this example. Then number 3, the session after you have reached the high end of the rep range, 6 reps on all your sets, that's when you increase the weight on the bar by the smallest increment possible. This will likely have you lose a couple of reps per set, but that's fine. Your goal is to now add back these reps over your upcoming workouts. And number 4, repeat this process until you no longer can increase weight without dipping below your rep range. So if you increase weight and start getting 3 instead of 4 reps on your sets in this example, it's time to change something. So if you start dipping below your target rep range using 4 to 6 reps for example, simply increase your working rep range to say 4 to 8 reps once you plateau on that. And then once you plateau on that, then you can increase the range again to 4 to 10 and so on. Essentially what you're doing is prolonging your time to progress in weight by getting an extra rep here and there. This is a very powerful strategy that will allow you to make progressive overload for a long time. This works well since it's been shown that the rep range you are using doesn't matter that much for muscle growth directly. With that said, the most effective rep range for muscle growth are between 4 to 15 reps. So working your way up through this large range and then restarting with a heavy weight is a phenomenal way to make long-term gains. Now, so finally, here's a great question that I get regarding progressive overload, which is, will I always make progress every workout? And the answer is nope, not every time. There will be workouts where you end up repeating the exact number of reps and weight that you did the previous workout. Sometimes this can even continue for a while, especially as you are getting more advanced. But the key is to work hard and find ways to add a rep here and there. Over time, your body has no other choice than to improve if you just adopt the work hard mindset in combination with a well set up training program and progression model. Okay, so what's next now? Well, I'd like to see you get out there and crush those weights. And while you're doing that, make sure your nutrition is on point so that you actually allow muscle growth to happen and not just burning yourself out. If you're not sure about setting up your nutrition when it comes to muscle growth, then watch episode 1 of the Lean Mass series again, where I explain this topic in depth. Now I want to leave it to you. Do you make sure that you are training with progressive overload? Or have you quote unquote slacked in the gym and like so many others trained in the same way for far too long? Let me know down in the comments right now. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode. Bye.